there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. You don't have time for constant conflict with a woman. You don't have time for it. This just to let you know, because let's just be real with it. A lot of guys out here, they either want to go back and forth with a woman or even watch content creators who are going back and forth with a woman. Look, as a man, you don't have time for it. That woman's either good with your program or she's not. And when I say constant conflict, like she want to argue with you and all of that, you don't have time for it. You don't have time for it. You know, I don't usually talk about my Sovereign Man program during the week, but I'm gonna talk about it right now. If you up there and you trying to be sovereign, you trying to have control over your life, you don't have time for it. Because first of all, if a woman is in conflict with what you're doing, she ain't in cooperation with your operation. She is not in cooperation. The type of woman you dealing with needs to be in cooperation to the point that even if she disagree with something, it is part of your operation. Like, okay, if you see if a woman, you doing something a certain way, like a business or whatever, and she adds something to it, and it might be in disagreement with the way you doing it, that's actually helping you out. But let's be real. Sometimes there's some women out here want to argue with a man for no other reason than to argue. You know, they just want to do it. And I've actually dealt with some women like that. You know, they just want to argue just to be arguing. You don't have time for it. As a man, you are focused on your mission. Remember what I always say, your main relationship is with yourself. The most important thing that you need to deal with is your mission, your purpose, what you're dealing with. That woman needs to be in cooperation with your operation. It's not just a cute saying or something like that. Shoot, but you don't have time for it. I'm gonna tell you what. Even when a lot of guys have talked about like the whole money thing, they say, well, you still giving your time. Your time's important. That's why like rich men always are very concerned about watches. That's why watches are very important. Your time is important. You only have 24 hours in a day. And some of that time you do need to sleep. Trust me, you need to sleep. You don't have time. You're trying to do something with your life. You going someplace. You're not just a regular dude who just gonna be just doing some 9 to 5 and that's it. You had some plans and everything. You need to be with that woman who's gonna be with a plan. Let me use myself for an example. My main thing is writing. I'm sitting in front of you right now. Hey, sometimes I can be standing in front of you. Whatever, because of writing. It's because of my books. I got to this point because of books. But then there were plenty of women, when I first started writing, they weren't down for that program. They were not in cooperation with my operation. Now, they were saying this and that and had all this. Now, if I had listened to them, I wouldn't be here now. No, I kept going. But one of the things I learned, I said, okay, everybody isn't good with what I'm doing. And the women that I was good with from that point on were women who were down for writers. Even my co-parent, writer. That's one of the things. That's one of the things. She don't have time for that mess. And you know what? I don't care. She got that body that you like on her, body part you like on her, whatever. She can have those big breasts, or if you don't like that nice butt dunk, or if you don't like those thick thighs that save lives, right? It don't matter. Is she down for what you're doing? Is she trying to help? Is she trying to help on your mission? Is she trying to be a helpmeet? And like I said, if she's disagreeing with something but it's helping your program, that's okay. But like I said, there's too many women out there who they just want to be in conflict. They just want to argue. And you don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. Indeed, many women behave that way because they've dealt with some men who would go along with that program. You know, she had a fat ass though. Man, forget all that. I don't care what that woman has physically. You need to be thinking, okay, is she helping me to get to a point? Like I said, if she has some disagreements or something and she's willing to help, and that disagreement is helping you get to a certain point, that's okay. But let's be real, a lot of times it's not. You don't have time for it. As a man, as I always say, your main relationship is with yourself. You need to be focused on what you're trying to do. You need to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what, this is your plan. That's your main relationship. That's your main relationship. Because there's many guys, they ready to argue with the women and stuff, but that's taking up your time. How's that helping you? You don't have time for all that crap. You don't have time for it. And if you got constant conflict, first of all, you need to ask yourself, why you always getting into conflict with these different women? What is it about you? What is it about you? Seriously. Because say you get in conflict, you meet 5 different women. You going out with them, there's always some conflict there. It's really not the women. Let me hit y'all with that. It's really not the women. What I always say, if you deal with 20 women and they reject you or they doing whatever, the only thing they had in common was you. The first thing you got to do is look within yourself and say, well, hold up, how am I running into all these women? And it could be because they got a nice body or something. Okay, that's on you. That's not on them. Because if you run into a woman and she's in disagreement with what you're trying to do, just be like, you know what? And you could tell her too. So say, you know what, you are very attractive, but I don't have time for that. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. You're either helping with it or you're not. If you're not helping with it, why waste time? Why waste both of our times? And don't be afraid to say that. Don't be afraid to say that. This is your life. This is important. That woman needs to fit into your life. If she doesn't, you don't. Well, I'll get more into that in the next sit down episode, okay? You know, I'll get more into that in the next sit down episode. So you want to look at that. Now, this ain't saying you get some doormat or you don't want that either. You don't want a doormat who's just like, yes, 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 because women like that, that's the type of woman, they'll hit you with a no or do something against you. You want a woman who's adding to it. Even if she disagree with something, just be like, okay, how can I do this better? There's nothing wrong with that woman who's helping your program, who might see something a different way. There's nothing wrong with that. But even her, that should be done in a way that's cooperative with where you're going, all right? I want y'all to think about that because you don't have time for it. You don't have time. You trying to do something. You trying to be a sovereign man out here. You trying to be a man that's going beyond the regular, all right? You don't have time for that. You know, those games, those whatever, those for little girls. Those for little boys. You're a grown-ass man. You trying to do something with your life, all right? I want y'all to think about that and always keep that in mind, all right? That's all I have for now. I want y'all to think about that. I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.